Hello everyone! I have no logical reason why I started this video with me coming down these stairs. Anyways, welcome to Zinkferd Studio. I'm Farhad, aka Zink, and this is my studio tour. So I wasn't able to record a quarantine cover this week and I felt pretty bad about it, hence the reason why I'm releasing this video in its place. It ties to the quarantine covers because it's where I record all of them, it's where I shoot the video. I do record all of my Schumann material here, solo stuff, session work, and local bands as well. So so Zinkferd Studio starts right here in this room. It's where I placed the room mic for the drums. There's a natural reverb here that's pretty pleasing. It's good enough for what I need. The sound just kind of bounces off all these walls, and I could avoid using a digital reverb. But the cool stuff, obviously, is behind these curtains. So let's take a look. So the first thing you'll notice when you walk into my studio, obviously, are the guitars. Before we get into these, I just wanted to point out the Rush picture on the wall. Rush has been a huge influence on me over the years, so it made sense for this picture to be the first thing you see when you walk into the studio. So there you have it. It was a gift given to me by a friend for one of my birthdays. Below you'll see a Fender Champion 110 amplifier. This guy has been with me since I was 14 or 15. First amp I ever owned. Just wanted to point that out. Let's get into the guitars. So first up, we have a Yamaha Compass guitar. This is the first acoustic guitar I ever purchased. The first acoustic song I ever wrote was written on this guitar back in 2001, 2002. A song called Stargaze. This is also the guitar that comes traveling with me everywhere I go outside of the United States. It's been all across Europe. I just find that because it's a cheaper guitar, I don't mind if it gets busted up, so I just have more peace of mind when I travel with it. So let's get into the electrics. All right, first up with the electrics, this is the guitar that I use on all of my quarantine covers. It's a completely custom guitar, and for all you guitar junkies out there, you'll notice it has a mayonnaise-style body and a PRS-style head. So essentially, this is an oversized mayonnaise body. Mayonnaise. And it has DiMarzio pickups. All of my guitars pretty much have DiMarzio pickups, and not just DiMarzio pickups, but the Steve Special on the bridge and the Air Norton on the neck. Obviously a throwback to JP when he was with Ibanez. He's moved on. Clearly I haven't. These pickups just work really great for what I do. I never had the desire to try anything else, so most of my guitars have the same pickups. This one also has a piezo pickup and a switch, coil tap, basswood body with the flame maple top, gorgeous blue, Schumann logo on the 12th fret, ebony fingerboard, and Planet Waves locking tuners as well. So, fantastic guitar. Next up, we have my main guitar that I use for playing shows. A lot of my guitars also have broken strings. Quarantine has not been friendly for my guitars. This Ibanez is pretty much my main guitar live. For any musician out there that plays live, any guitarist for that matter, the most important thing for a guitar is the ability to stay in tune. And this guitar is rock solid when it comes to tuning. Despite the fact that it has a floating tremolo, this thing stays in tune no matter what the humidity is outside, temperature, air pressure, whatever. Stays in tune, sounds great. It's also really thin, so it's really light as well. DiMarzio pickups, Air Norton, and Steve Special. Fantastic guitar. We'll skip on over through to this Ibanez. This is basically my secondary guitar for Schumann, just in case the other Ibanez breaks a string. Same deal, Air Norton. Steve Special also has the Schumann logo on the 12th fret. Great backup guitar. Sounds great overall in general, but I do use it as a backup guitar. Here's a carve-in. This is my first real guitar, a Fender 50th anniversary Strat. This guitar is the one that is the most special to me, just because of the time that I bought it, memories I've had with it and whatnot. Also a fabulous sounding Strat. We'll skip on over to here, the bass. So this is a Fender Jazz bass, Geddy Lee signature. Fantastic bass, sounds fantastic, tracks fantastic, and it's very comfortable to play on. So yeah, the Fender Jazz bass. Let's go ahead and get to the last one here. This is the Taylor 214 CE. The one that I use for most of my quarantune covers. This is the main acoustic guitar that I use for tracking anything, for that matter. There's something in here, and I don't know what it is. Oh, it came out. I've been trying to get that thing to come out forever. Anyways, this is my acoustic. Let's walk on over to the drums. All right, so here we are with the drums. So this is a Tama Star Classic Birch kit. And a little fun fact, it's been around me for years. So prior to Iris Divine, I was in a band called Encompass. This kit belonged to our drummer, Sadi Ashraf. When he left the band, we replaced him with Danveer, and he sold Danveer this kit. So it's been with me throughout Encompass, through my tenure with Iris Divine, into Schumann, and now it sits in this studio. So pretty cool fact. It has a ton of toms, but I'm only utilizing two. One, because I'm not really a drummer. Two, because who really needs more than two toms, right? Says the guy who's a huge Neil Peart fan. The cymbals, these are all Zildjian, minus this guy here, which is a Wuhan China. This is a 12-inch China. So these are all A custom cymbals. So this is a 16, 18, a 20-inch China. This is a K Organic Ride, and then these are 14-inch A Newbie Zildjian hi-hats. Let's get into the miking setup. So I pretty much set the miking up specifically for the quarantune covers that I've been doing. For the quarantunes, I'm using the XY setup for the overheads, and these are SE electronic mics. For Schumann, I'd be doing the spaced pair just because I like the stereo separation. These are pretty much capturing all of the cymbals, including the ride and the hi-hat. If I was recording Schumann, I'd have these mic'd as well, and what I'm using for these are Octava M12s. They're like a pencil condenser mic, a Russian company. They're pretty fantastic, and they pick up really great cymbal sounds. So for the toms, I'm using an Audix D12, or I'm sorry, an Audix D2, an Audix D4 for the floor tom. For the kick drum, I'm utilizing an AKG D112. The snare has two Shure SM57s. The bottom one is disengaged. That's pretty much the drum set. So let's take a look at the guitar amps. Okay, so here we are for the amplifiers. This is something that Tyler bought years ago, the Marshall Mode 4. I don't think he's ever used it. I've never used it. It's just kind of been sitting here as a decoration or something. Right here we've got Tyler's Blackstar HT60. On top of it, we've got my pedal board. So bank on over here. This is my live setup. So it's a Mesa Rectifier 4x12 cab. Inside this bag is a Mesa JP2C. On top of that is the Rivera Rock Crusher. This is essentially just an attenuator, so when I'm playing bigger shows or rehearsing here, I can play at lower volumes without sacrificing tone, because this is a tube amp and tube amps like to get cranked. So I don't bring this to smaller shows because, ironically enough, the smaller shows, you're not miking the cab, so you can crank the amp a little bit more. Before I talk about the keys, I do want to mention the Queensryche Operation Mindcrime poster. This was another gift given to me by a friend, and the special thing about it, it has all 5 original members' signatures on it. So very cool and very awesome that I have that to be able to hang in the studio. So right below that, we've got Jose's bass amp, and it's an SWR with a Goliath 3 cab, strictly for rehearsal. He doesn't even use it live. It sounds fantastic, but for recordings, we usually just go direct, and that's That holds true for all of the quarantune covers as well. I usually just go direct. All right, so let's talk about the keyboards. So on top, I've got a Roland Juno GI. Just below that, the Kurzweil PC361. This is my favorite. It has a ton of sounds. The lead sounds are pretty awesome on this thing, especially for a lot of those proggy sounds. Fantastic keyboard. Just below this, I've got the Kurzweil K2600X. This is one I've had for the longest. The main reason why I picked this board up was because of Peter Gabriel. I saw an ad way back when, and I was like, Peter Gabriel is using this keyboard. I need it as well. I don't know why I'm talking like a robot. So those are the keys. Now let's talk about my favorite area in the studio, and that's the workstation. All right, guys, thank you so much for sticking around. This is the final part of the tour. This is where I spend literally 18 hours a day at times, just sitting right here at this desk. Outside of just working on studio stuff here, working on the quarantine videos, this is where I sit for my 9 to 5 as well due to quarantine. So it's a pleasure to sit at a desk like this. But let's talk about the gear. Let's talk about my DAW. And while doing so, I'm going to grab the camera so you guys can take a better look at all the gear. All right, so we'll start with the Daking Mic Pre 2. This is a phenomenal preamp. I use it for drum overheads, bass guitar. The bass really shines through this thing. I use it on guitar as well. For the drums, I use the high-pass filter pretty high, so it picks up mostly the cymbals, and I can get away with cutting out some of the low end of the drums. Below that, I've got the 2 Notes Torpedo Live. That's for when I feel the need to record tube amps. I don't use it much, but I have that in those instances that I feel like that's the best approach. Below that, of course, is the Fractal Audio AXFX 2. This gets a lot of use because I'm really lazy and I like the convenience of recording guitar direct. Just for the consistency and for the fact that I don't really have to crank a guitar amp to get a decent tone. So if we go over to the right, you'll see there's a little blue box right next to the Auratone speaker. That's the J48. It's a radial direct box. I use that to record a direct signal of my guitar just in case I want to reamp later. So now looking at the left side of the desk, I'm utilizing 2 Great River ME1NVs. There's a reason why I'm using 2. These preamps sound absolutely amazing, very clear, transparent, really good on low frequency instruments, bass guitar, kick drum. I also use it on vocals and snare drum as well. They shine on anything you send through them, though, acoustic guitar, what have you. Just below those preamps, you can see my interface. I'm using an RME Fireface UFX. I purchased this years ago and never had the need to upgrade. It sounds phenomenal. It really is a workhorse. I'm utilizing all 4 preamps on the front panel. For the quarantine covers, I've used them for vocals and on the drums as well. And what I use to control the RME Fireface is the RME ARC USB. I'm able to control volume, choosing between my monitors, headphones, muting, so it makes everything a little bit more easy to control. Right below the interface, I've got my API 3124 Plus. That includes 4 ridiculously awesome mic pre's as well, but I mainly use them for drums. So that pretty much sums up all of the rack gear. Let's talk about the monitors. My main set of monitors are the Focal Shape Twins. I got them recently. They sound great. My secondary monitors are the Auratone 5Cs. They're very similar to the Yamaha NS10s and the Avantone Mix Cubes. I definitely prefer the Auratones over the Avatones. The point of these monitors are, they sound like crap. So if you can get your mix to sound pretty good on these, you can be sure that it'll sound pretty good anywhere else. And then we'll move on over to my wonderful Beatles Yellow Submarine music box. Can't have a studio without Beatles memorabilia, right? I'm using the Akai MPK249 for a MIDI controller. It's a really decent MIDI controller. I don't have that many expectations from one because I'm not using it as a controller so much for my DAW. I'm basically just using it for VST instruments, piano, strings. I also use the pads from time to time when I'm programming drums. Most of the control features are coming from the Fader Port 16 made by PreSonus. that one works really seamlessly with my DAW, which is PreSonus' Studio One, so you can imagine they work very well with one another. I'm really an old school kind of guy, so I prefer the tangibility of moving actual faders. It also allows me to not use my mouse so much. So that's pretty much my setup. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope it was informative and you were able to kind of dig deeper into how I record my quarantunes and get a better understanding of my recording process. I hope you dug the video, and I'm sorry that I couldn't do a quarantune cover, but hopefully I'll be back next week for quarantune cover number 13. So stick around and please subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon. Thanks again.